Like for instance, right? My mother never knew what Crips and Bloods was. She used to buy me blue rags. She had no clue.
Right.
Right? My mother's from the south of Mississippi. And so when they moved out here, you know, I was born out here. They had no clue what was about to come. It's this generation that knows what Crips and Bloods is, you know, and my mother and them didn't have a clue. I could be sagging, and my mother would only see sagging as just like, why you don't got a belt on? You know what I mean? This generation knows what it is.
Right.
And it's different, you know, like knowing. But my mom, I don't have no tattoos. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I really was like a mama's boy.
Right.
Like my mother said, she didn't want me to get high, I didn't do it. She didn't want me to drink, I didn't do it.
And all the peer pressure over the years didn't really do nothing?
I love my mother, man. When it was me and my mother, like.
Did anyone let you know that like drinking and smoking feels good? And
I did. I got high before. I
just
got
didn't
high
really love
before.
it?
I tried it, but you know what I'm saying? Like my mother was just like a major influence in my brain. Like, oh, you a coward. You're gonna go out the house and you're gonna let these people tell you what to do. She didn't know nothing about gangbanging, so she didn't have this thing about don't gangbang, don't do this.
Oh, she didn't tell you don't shoot someone, but she
didn't
did
know
tell
what it
you
was.
don't smoke and drink.
She didn't. Hey, look, she didn't know what it was until I was actually in jail fighting so many cases. It was like,
Right.
you know, and she was like, they're saying you're a monster. And I'm like, Mom, I don't believe none of that.
Right. Dude, I mean, I just wonder like how you perceive all this shit these days. Cause like, just for example, to take it outside of the LA world and shit, like in Jacksonville right now, there's a couple of rap crews. Bro, there's like 10 plus people dead on each side of it from this like gang war that they got going, and it's expressed through songs too. And one of the artists, Young Ace, just put out this song where he's just literally the whole song is making fun of the other side's dead homies. And it's like,
see, that's
I
ridiculous.
can't believe it. Like that this shit is still happening, and I just wonder what's your perspective on this kind of shit.
Well, I think certain things shouldn't be said out. You know what I mean? Even when we did this documentary, people try to say that we said, no, we didn't. We talked about things that can't nobody be charged for. We purposely made sure and we looked at things and we didn't say things. But you could get where we coming from.
Right.
We gave you the authenticity of who we were. You know what I mean? But I feel like where we are in hip hop, I don't down people. I don't want to down our young artists because I think they're hella talented. But it's more serious than it was back then because it used to be beefs back in the days.
Right.
You had LL Cool J versus Kool Moe Dee. You had this person, and they were fights. But what happens today is because of the drug use and because these dudes are so off the chain, you don't never know what these dudes are about to do. I don't even think they know what they're about to do until they wake up in a cell a month later. And the drugs have worn off, the psychosis has worn off, and they realizing like, I did what?
Right.
Some of them don't even realize they got the damn tattoos they have on their face. So it's kind of hard to, you know what I mean, to realize it. But, you know, I remember I read one time where Russell Simmons said he was high. He was so high, he don't even remember 10 years of, he don't even remember the 80s or the 90s. You remember something like that.
I mean, all that coke and shit will really do something to you.
But these dudes are not just using coke now. They're using
those opiates. If you want to erase your memory, that'll do it. Yeah.
And so we're in a different place in hip hop, but I feel like the kids got it, but our generation was more of sellers. This generation is users. You know what I mean?
Also, like, you could get into a scrap with someone. You probably have hundreds of fights that like 4 people saw, and now it's like if someone gets beat up, millions of people immediately know.
Yeah.
If somebody's gang gets clowned, any kind of disrespect, it's just immediate content. So it's like you can kind of understand why these beefs just sort of spiral out of control, whereas it might have been more isolated.
I can't understand it because somebody got to be a man at some point and say they was wrong. Like as far as Quando Rondo, I was wrong for saying it, but he was wrong for not reaching to his homeboy. And then on the same line that I reached out to you, you reached back out to me on it. You know what I'm saying? But I apologize to my homeboy. You know what I'm saying? Because that's where it starts and stops. Somebody got to apologize. They was wrong. I was wrong. You know what I'm saying? But I'm a man. I can admit that I'm wrong. I can say, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I make a mistake, my nigga, I'm gonna admit that I made a mistake. I ain't gonna carry it past that.
Right.
But I had to grow to that, though. It was at one point when I was younger, it would have been like, fuck you, so what I said that I did that. You understand what I'm saying? But I feel like the kids have to get to that. And I don't want to call them kids because I don't want nobody to feel like I'm offending them by calling them a kid either.
Right.
But we have to get to that point in our existence to realize where we are in hip hop. You know what I mean? But I want to be an example to hip hop also.
Right.
And when I'm wrong, admit that I'm wrong. You know what I mean? But
Right.
I don't want to be, because I'm going to go when I'm supposed to go.
Right.
Like if it's a beef, even to this day at 54, and it's a serious one, I'm gonna pull up and I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
But if I can avoid it, I'm gonna be a man and avoid it. You know what I mean?
And I thought that situation was pretty interesting just because Quando Rondo is so young, and it's like I don't see you really seeing yourself in the same game that he's in. Like you've learned all the lessons that he's still going through at this point in his life. But when
He's a good kid too.
But when you see him, I saw a quote from you where you said, like, this guy's claiming my neighborhood. How much does that make you feel like you owe him a conversation or owe him taking it seriously when it is such a global thing?
because no matter what, I got to be the older one. So that's why I gotta apologize. You know what I'm saying? Because at some point I got to be the older one. He gets to still be the kid. He still gets to be the young one. But at some point, if I fail to be the older person and the bigger person, then I'm really failing the whole generation. You know what I mean? I'm failing myself. I ain't losing no points. I don't feel like I'm losing no points by showing my little homeboy or whoever else respect. And then I'm supposed to be able to sit him down and tell him where he wrong at.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's just being a man. Because I got kids. I want my kids to know right from wrong. I'm not going to ride with just anybody when they just right or wrong. I don't do that. You know what I mean? That would continue a cycle of ignorance. You know what I mean? I tell my homeboys, no, we're going to be right. I want to be right.
Right.
I'm not riding with nigga right or wrong. Because if I do, and that comes from being on prison yards, niggas right or wrong, and then you go into the hole. Or that comes from you catching a case. Now you done fucked your life off and you knew your homeboy was wrong.
Right.
Why don't you check him in the beginning? You know what I mean? Or check myself. You know what I mean? And then, because I know when it's right and I'm right, I'm going to tear this shit up.
Because the people who are the leaders of the community, you just can't continue to have that mind state of like, oh, you're my boy, so I'm riding with you no matter what. That's not going to last that long, that mentality.
Well, it is going to last that long because that's the ignorance we see right now. And it's not just hip hop. It's in America. It's in American politics. Look at what just happened. Look at just what happened at the U.S. Capitol. You know what I mean? Now you got all the Republicans trying to justify the biggest wrong in U.S. history. The biggest wrong in U.S. history.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Trying to minimize it, make it seem like it wasn't that big a deal, like we didn't all live through it.
But you got 5 people die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And who's accountable for that? You got George Floyd being killed publicly on television, in camera, and they're trying to say that the crowd killed him. A crowd made this man do what he did.
Right.
And so it's not just hip hop. And when we report on hip hop, we only tend to report that it's the bad in hip hop, but it's a lot of great in hip hop. And I do interviews and I try to let people who are interviewing me realize that if we only ask me about the Quando Rondos, but we never talk about the Kendrick Lamars. We never talk about the OSBSs, the Criticality. We never talk about what's my man Jordan Lucas. We don't ever talk about the cast is doing something positive, and we only focus on the negative. That's what hip hop is gonna look like. Hip hop is only gonna look like it's a negative force, but we don't even talk about the dudes who are great artists, who are going platinum, who are selling and really, making our culture look good. You know what I mean? Like we got a lot of artists, man. We got more artists that's doing good than we have that's doing bad.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And so, but we only see interviews on that. That's all we hear about is the carnage.
Yeah, I know. A lot of times you'll see an interview and you can just like feel this contentious relationship where the interviewer just wants to only ask about this shit that's going to agitate because they know it's going to get views, and the rapper is not so stupid that they don't realize what's happening. They understand and they don't want to do it, and it's a terrible like way to base a conversation. I love when I do an interview like where I don't know what the fuck to title it because we're just talking about whatever.
Right.
Yeah. As somebody who lived through the LA riots, how did you feel? you weren't around for
I
that.
was gone.
You were gone. You were away
I
for
left.
that. Okay.
I was actually in the county jail the day the ride started, and I actually went to the hole for a ride that was in the county jail.
Oh wow. So you found out about it after, more so?
I think ours started before, or started early that day inside the county jail, and then theirs started at night.
Right. What's your perspective on the most recent protests and the at times turned violent last year? Like, what was your perspective on that happening and what that meant to the community?
I think I was vocal, man. I'm not a marcher. I don't see myself marching. I don't know what it does and what it will do, but I support the people that do march. I just feel like when it's my time, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go the same way I've been going. So when that call come, feast be alive, I'm gonna go. And I'm gonna be looking for ways to make my impact, and hopefully my kids and my people are gonna make their impact the way they're supposed to. But I don't see myself marching and letting nobody do nothing to me freely.
You think we're about to have another round of protests when the George Floyd verdict comes back?
Nah, I don't think so, because I think they're gonna do the right thing. I mean, if we haven't reached that point in our history with all the things that's happening around in this country, then shame on us.
Yeah, but I mean, if they don't make the right decision, I don't know. I'm a little worried about what might happen after that.
I'm not worried about it. I mean, this country, up until we seen what just happened at the Capitol, the infrastructure of this country won't be imploded by people of color. You know what I mean? And the anger of people of color. It's not built like that. The only way this country this rock would be changed, it would be from people that look like you or that come from your background, because you guys would have to change it. You would have to change it for the plight of people my color and other people dark and brown, and you guys would have to change it for us to be really ever become a great nation, fair for everybody else. It can't come from us. It won't come from us.